Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Leo for June 2016. Check out my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's new on my blog, and while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. So what is going on in the month of June? We've got convergences of heavy hitters. Heavy hitters are, what I call heavy hitters, are the planets that are in the outer part of the solar system that take longer to get around. So when they make mathematical connections, they bring life-changing experiences. And we have two such convergences. Plus we have Mars going direct, and Mars retrograde has been a long story that we've been talking about for a while. So I'm going to go into great detail about those three general transits, but first I want to talk about things specific for Leo. And these are shorter term transits that are occurring that just are giving us, a different flavor for Leo placements, rising sign, sun sign, etc. So early degree placements are having this accumulation of personal planets, the ones closer to us, in the 11th house. Again, the early degree placements are the ones that are the July born Leos up to like around the 2nd or so of August, or 0 to 9 degrees if you're watching for your rising sign. Middle degree placements are from around the 3rd through the 12th, and those are the middle degree placements for, so 9 degrees to 19 degrees if you're looking for a rising sign. And then the late degree placements are like the 13th through the end of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees. The reason why I say roundabout dates is because the sun does not move into Leo on the same day every year. So like if you get something like I have a blanket that has an astrology wheel, and it has pictures of the signs, and then it has the dates that those the sun is in those signs. That's general, but it's not exact every year. If you look, sometimes the sun will go into Leo on the 22nd of July. Sometimes it'll go in the 23rd. So when you break down the 30 degrees of a sign, or 30 days of a sign, of the sun being in that sign, into thirds, it starts on the day that the sun went in. And that's not the same every year. That's why I say around. So in order for you to find out exactly your designation, you need to look to see what day the sun went into Leo in the year that you were born, and then you could break it down into thirds that way. So these are roundabout dates, but it's close enough. The reason why I take the time to break it down into early, middle, and late degree is because an early degree placement chart for a horoscope looks totally different than a late degree placement for a chart. And there's differences in time as far as being staggered when you're experiencing things. So early and some middle degree placements in the month of June are going to have this congregation of personal planets in the 11th house, but the rest of the middle degree and late degree placements are going to have that congregation in the 10th house. And that makes a difference with what the short-term energy has for you. So early and some middle degree placements, the sun, Venus, and then Mercury will get there into the 11th house. Talk about key players coming into your life, acquaintances, contacts of any kind, friends coming back or that are in your life. People that are going to bring connections and opportunities for you. Social media, it could be someone that you know on Facebook and you don't even know them. Anything having to do with the internet is very much supported and enhanced at this time. Anything having to do with internet-based projects, social media projects, any social gatherings that are in person, community projects, anything having to do with humanitarian efforts, or anything you do within a large organization or associated with a large organization or groups or teams. All of that is the 11th house energy. So the rest of the middle and late degree placements, you will have this coming for you. It's just going to be staggered, not happening right in June. It's going to be staggered depending on where your placement is. So key connections, really have your ears pricked up for something that someone says or something that someone posts that could be a really great business or even love opportunity for you in the future. As I've been talking about, Mars is not the best time to start a romantic relationship, and you can see my Mars retrograde video under YouTube, Annie Botticelli Mars retrograde, to see more about that. Or you can go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, click on astrology, click on blog, and see my blog about it. But it doesn't mean that something that might be romantic in the future might not be carried along a continuum at some point. The reason why there's a link between money and love is because Venus rules those things. And Venus is going to be in the 11th house for Leos. So that could be an introduction or something, you know, having to do with 11th house from an 11th house person. So a friend, a contact, you know, all these things that I'm talking about. So that's a very busy 11th house for you. The rest of you, and even the early degree placements, are going to have some energy in the 10th house. The 10th house has to do with career, work, life purpose. So recognition could come in, acknowledgement, advancement is all top in order for you to be experiencing because there's focus there. The new moon is going to happen in the 11th house for early and some middle degree placements. And the new moon is going to happen for the rest of the middle degree and late degree placements in this 10th house. So new opportunities, something happening where all of a sudden you're recognized or you're acknowledged for your work. If you've been working on something, there's a lot of energy, short term and long term with these outer planets, which I'll talk about later, that's bringing this story of you coming out into the limelight. And Leo energy really loves the limelight. Unless you have a bunch of Virgo placements and just a little bit of Leo, then if you've got any strong Leo energy, you love having people acknowledge you and look at you and, you know, entertaining people and helping people and leading people. And the aspects that we're experiencing in June can bring small and big recognition or coming to fruition for what you've been doing. So that's really exciting. The new moon is on June 4th at 14 degrees of Gemini. So any placements, you know, between like 9 degrees and 19 degrees, that's going to blend especially well with your placements because Gemini and Leo energy has a 60-degree aspect between them, which is very positive. So if you have the new moon aspecting any of those placements between 9 and 19 degrees, then that's going to be extra beneficial for you. So the full moon is going to happen on June 20th, and that is happening in the 5th house. So the 5th house has to do with, well, early and most middle degree placements are going to have this full moon happening in the 5th house. The later degree placements, some of you might experience this in the 4th house. So the 5th house has to do with, it's actually the house of Leo. So it has to do with everything Leo, like children, creativity, music, artistic expression, athleticism, acting, directing, anything having to do with putting things out there to be seen. True love, the 5th house is the house of true love. So love relationships, anything having to do with your kids or the process of trying to have children. Fun, this is the house of fun. So something coming to fruition here. And if you don't have children, it could be a creative project or it could be something else. Now, when there's a full moon, we know that there's fullness, there's completion, there's an ending. There can be drama, or it can be something happening that you've been waiting for. For many people, this is going to be a child is graduating. In June, there are a lot of graduations. So that embodies the energy very nicely of some kind of completion, the end of a cycle, something that's happy, but something that's sad, and tears are likely going to be shed. That's very much the energy of the full moon, you know? It's like this building up of water energy. It reminds me of a dog when they're wet. You know, they're so wet and they shake, 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 and then everything gets flung all over the place. That's what it's like at a full moon. You're building up all this emotional energy in your field, and then at the full moon it gets shaken off. You know, so something centered around 5th house for most Leo placements. And then you late degree placements, you could have this happen in the 4th house. And this could be the same kind of thing because the 4th house actually relates to people in your home. So it could be that same thing with a child graduating or something like that. Or someone in your family needing attention, a housing matter needing attention. It's like it's something that gets put up in front of you to be looked at. Sometimes it's a great thing. Sometimes it's a challenging thing. But in any case, it's something that usually is emotional in some way. So strong focus in the 11th and 10th house, strong focus in the 5th, and for some of you the 4th house. And then we've got these big dog aspects that are really life-changing, that affect everyone. So I'm going to go into great detail right now about the square that we have with outer planets, the trine that we have with outer planets. That's a super awesome connection. And then Mars is going direct. I call the theme of the month of June, the heavy hitters converge, because outer planets, when they're locked together in a meaningful geometric combination, are like the heavy hitters. Whenever we have an aspect of an outer planet, meaning the ones that take longer to go around, like Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, or if you're looking at asteroids, Chiron, etc., these planets take a long time to get around. So when they make an aspect, especially to another outer planet that takes a long time to move around their orbits, their influences last for a longer period of time than the ones with the personal planets, unless of course there's a personal planet being retrograde, that's different. But as far as an actual aspect occurring within personal planets, you might feel those effects for a couple of days. But the story of outer planets getting together, that tells a story over a long period of time. It makes me think of when I was growing up in New York City. When I was a little kid, I was a baseball fanatic. I was quite a tomboy, and me and my little friends would obsess over baseball and we'd watch it with my dad, and we would just get so excited when the guys who would be the ones that would hit the ball out of the park regularly would come up to bat. They called them the heavy hitters. And you didn't know if this was going to be a time they were going to hit a home run, but the odds were more likely that they were going to hit a home run than anybody else. Everyone was just, waiting with excited anticipation, especially if there are men on base, And that's the energy of June as it relates to the heavy hitters in the cosmos, because we have two convergences of heavy hitters. The first one is between Saturn in Sagittarius and Neptune in Pisces. Now, this aspect is a square. A square is known to be a challenging aspect. I don't want you to fear squares, however, because sometimes it's a square that we need, or a point of conflict that we need to crack open something up to another level, It's like it's a point of conflict that from it, you can completely improve your life and your life experience. All transits, especially the challenging ones, show weak spots. So this transit will be no exception. Saturn in Sagittarius and Neptune in Pisces in a square, this happened in the beginning part of this cycle. It was the last days of November 2015 through like December 4th of 2015. So the end of November, beginning of December of 2015 is when this happened first. It happens now for the second time, June 5th through June 18th, with the strongest point being on June 18th, but very strong for that whole time. And you'll feel it before those dates and after. It's a long-term story. And it's a theme that's following from the end of last year into this year, and it reaches its culmination like the end of August 30th through around September 21st of 2016. So over the course of the year, from the end of 2015 through almost the end of 2016, there's been this point of conflict. And so themes that came up at that point very likely will either come up again if they hadn't been resolved, or related themes will come up, or maybe different manifestations. But many, many people are going to have this issue come up in the form of security. And many people will have it in the form of internet security. When Neptune, the energy of Neptune and Pisces is very much behind the scenes. It's private stuff. So things that you want to be private, with Saturn coming and making this square to Neptune, they might not be private anymore. So I always post these horoscopes at least a month and sometimes more early so that you can have a heads up for what's coming, so that you can take action. So one of the places that I recommend that you take action here is around this square, and it's around security. So I think it's a wonderful idea for you to change your passwords, to add whatever steps you can to beef up the security, to have a professional do a security check even, or research ways that, if you don't have the money to do that, research ways to beef up your internet security. be careful of the things you post on Facebook and social media. You know, just have a new level of awareness of apps and how people are gathering information about you and your what you're doing on the internet, things like that. This could also be home security or work security or anything having to do with things that you want to be private that might not be completely secured. So you want to try to go through between the time you listen to this and then and strengthen as many of these weak links as possible. That's a really good use of the energy. There are also likely to be a lot of conflicts or things that come up regarding fear and faith. And so here are some questions to ask that can lead you down a good path with using this energy in the best way. One is where, and this is kind of along the lines of what I was just talking about with security, but where are you putting your trust? And is that well placed? And that can be having nothing to do with internet security. It could be in relationships. It could be with, who knows, whatever. Ask the question, where are you placing your trust? And maybe it's not the best place to place it. Where could you place more trust and you're not? There's also a very major spiritual component to this, because trusting in the benevolent source and clearing up any issues you have with your connection to the divine could be what's coming up here for many people. So maybe you're placing your trust in things that are changeable and movable in the third dimensional reality, and we all know that those things are change and or always changing, but the connection with the divine is something that isn't changing. So spiritual revolution could occur from this transit for many. Where are your boundaries? Are they secure? Should they be more secure in certain places? And should they be less secure in certain places? Sometimes we're putting up walls in places where we really want something to come in, you know? So this square can bring up all of those things. If you want more love to come into your life, if you want more money to come into your life, figuring out where you're putting up blocks to receiving those things is going to be relevant for many people. Of course, I always love suggesting inner work, because sometimes this boundary setting thing is not in our conscious control. It's very much in our unconscious program. And the only way that you can really get at those unconscious programs is by working on the unconscious level. One of the books that I talk about all the time that works very well for helping you to set healthy boundaries in places where you need them and take some extra walls away in places where you're trying to bring more in is a book called The Presence Process by Michael Brown. It's masterful for that. So you can look to see where your boundaries need to be bolstered and where you need to be a little bit more lax in certain places, things like that. It's like the showdown between reality and illusion, you know, and form and formlessness. So all the many ways that those conflicts can come up, this story has been brought up at the end of last year for special focus, and the story is getting stronger now, and it will reach its culmination at the end of August into September. So the next major convergence of heavy hitters we have, and this one I'm all smiles about, even though you know I'm going to make lemonade out of the challenging one and tell you how you can make the most of it, when there's a really great aspect like a trine, like this second convergence, which is between Jupiter in Virgo and Pluto in Capricorn, I'm going to be really excited about that. So Jupiter in Virgo is very much about everything Virgo, expanding everything Virgo. And Virgo has to do with your health, your diet, your regimen, yoga, meditation, medical diagnostics. Many people have had major enigmatic health stories, and they're trying to, like a super detective, get to the bottom of what is happening with their health. And Pluto is the best ally in this, because Pluto goes deep into research. Pluto rules research. And Pluto in Capricorn is very practical. So having this trine, which is strongest between June 23rd and June 30th, and again, there's a story with this. It started in mid-October 2015. It happened the second time mid-March 2016. And now it reaches its culmination with this aspect at the end of June. So many people who have been on a wild health journey, you might have some massively good news, or at least massively enlightening news that can then put you in the direction for better health. Many people are going to see movement forward in the arena of health or diet or anything like that. If you are a person who has MS, autoimmune, any other kind of autoimmune things, inflammatory based problems, colitis, anything involving inflammation, problems with your skin, anything that just seems like whatever you're doing to it, you're not hitting it at all. There's a couple of resources I'm going to recommend for your journey. One is a book called Medical Medium. Medical Medium is a Hay House book, and I'll put it in the link below this video. And it is very interesting. It's very different, and maybe some of you won't resonate with it, but many more people are going to have a lot of answers come here. But he's basically talking about how many of the things that are plagues for our time, from the health perspective, are actually based in virus. And I know that research that I've seen about cancer, they're finding more and more cancers are linked to viruses. So this isn't really very surprising, or metaphysical for that matter, even though the person who brings it is a medium, between worlds. The information is very much based in science from what I've been researching myself. So there could be a viral component to the things that you think are not virally based, and by treating it, you could all of a sudden heal from something that you're not supposed to heal from. Now, of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm offering a resource that could change your life. So check out Medical Medium, Hay House. And another idea is to get some genetic testing. If you've had a lot of problems, you could narrow down your specific issues by having some genetic testing. A basic genetic test that will give you a lot of information and is not as expensive as some of the other ones is called 23andMe. It's the number 23andMe. And this will let you know if you have certain parts of your liver function that don't work, which would create all these other problems. If you have certain liver pathway problems, etc., or other things that could be relevant to your health. There's someone else that I'm going to recommend, his name, and I'll put all of these links underneath this video, and is a man, his name is Gino, and he is a friend of mine who is very gifted with understanding how science and physiology work, and he has helped many people heal from things that were considered terminal. So if you look up genospassion.com, or I think it's .com, or I'll put the link below here, maybe Gino can assist you with your particular situation. And he likes to work along with your doctor to see your blood tests and things like that. So many people are going to have good news or breakthroughs along those fronts, and maybe some of these resources will be part of that. What's very exciting about this transit is that it's reaching its culmination at this point, The previous transit we talked about, we're kind of still in the middle of that story, but this one is reaching this conclusion, and it's such a wonderful aspect. So other things that could come up here are things involving pets or animals, since Virgo rules those areas. Also involving your quality of work experience or daily experience. Virgo rules what you do every day, what your experience is like every day. So when you have Jupiter in Virgo, it's working on trying to make improvements in your day-to-day schedule. So if you look at your life and you say, oh God, I need to work less, Jupiter in Virgo can help you with that. If you're like, oh gosh, I don't have a job, I need to work more, Jupiter can help you with that. Whatever your subjective experience of improvement of your daily schedule is, Jupiter is working really hard to help you with that. And as of the time it went direct in May, those things started lighting up again. And now when it reaches this culmination of this activation with Pluto in Capricorn at the end of June, you could see some major improvements in your work-life balance, whatever you've got going on in your daily schedule. So that's really exciting. Also, many people will experience this trine with Jupiter and Pluto as bringing them advancements on the fronts of work, career, and life purpose. Because Pluto being in Capricorn, Capricorn rules work, career, and life purpose. So Jupiter being in a great angle there can help to accentuate, unblock, free, synergize, bring great juju to your work and career and life purpose areas of life. So that's another way that you might see this trine story reach a culmination at the end of June. Third piece that is very relevant is that on June 29th, Mars is going direct. If you've been listening to my reports for a while, I've been talking about Mars in its pre-shadow retrograde, in its retrograde, and now on June 29th, Mars finally goes direct. It has a pretty long shadow period on the back end. It will be in the post-shadow period until August 21st. But with every day that marches on past June 29th, you're getting more and more clear of it. So if you've got to launch something, do something new, if you've been waiting, July is your month to do that, and the first little bit of August, because then we're going to get into Mercury shadow again, and it's not going to be the time to launch things. There will be some even better stars for launching in the last 3 weeks of October and all of November and the first couple of days of December. That period of time at the end of the year is actually the most open than any we've had this entire year of 2016, because the other period we had, like February, March, and then this one in July into the beginning of August, those all have some influence of shadow, of retrogrades of personal planets, even though there's some workable ground. So if you're not quite ready to launch, or something, you really want to have all the personal planets clear, maybe you'll want to lean towards that second window, but you'll just have to feel it out, because I don't know what your personal chart looks like, and sometimes personal chart aspects can supersede what the general stars are, So if you want some help with that, anything as far as perfect astrological timing or navigating through making the most of the transits, you can go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. You can check out my growing list of blogs there to assist you. You can check out my personal coaching. You can look for my Unleash Your Money Magnet program to help you unleash your money magnet. If you go to anniehelpsyou.com and then click on programs, you'll see Unleash Your Money Magnet. You'll see my Creating Successful Online Business course that will be enrolling in July. You'll see my Astrology Apprenticeship program, which will be enrolling in July. And you'll see my Shine program, which is a 28-day virtual coaching program, which helps you to make the most of the starry potentials by clearing out your inner blocks. And while you're there, definitely sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community and get all kinds of cool opportunities and information that come along with being in that group. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.